one benefit, if Max ever gets jammed up with the law, if you guys have that contract beforehand, you could come see him in the slammer. And that would be a real testament to your commitment, I suppose.
Welcome to Should We Get Married?
My name is Emily Carter.
My name is Maxson and Emily.
And in this podcast, we're trying to figure out if we should get legally married to each other.
Or stay dating forever.
What's up with people playing it so cool these days?
Today's guest is John J. Lennon, an incarcerated journalist at Sing Sing prison in New York. We talked to him about falling in love while in prison, getting married, and what conjugal visits are like.
Let's get into it.
Maxson, how did we come to find John?
We have a friend named Alex Duran who works in criminal justice. He's unbelievable, incredible filmmaker and activist. And he listened to our podcast and he said, hey, you guys have to talk to John. He's a journalist, writer. He's incarcerated and he's been married twice while in prison. So it's a really interesting perspective to get.
Yeah. So Maxson and I read his Esquire article, which is super worth reading and was really helpful context ahead of our conversation with him.
Yeah, that article, by the way, is called Sex, Love, and Marriage Behind Bars.
Yeah. John has been married twice to Raina and Daniele. He was not married before being incarcerated. So these are people that he met while he was there, got to know while he was there, and got married to while he was there.
And by the way, got to know while he was there means John J. Lennon met people through a website and then exchanged a series of letters and they fell in love over time and then they got married.
Yep. And these marriages allowed for him to unlock the conjugal visit rights, so family visitation program. But we got to hear about what those visits are, what kind of freedoms you're allowed at this moment in time, and how many hoops people jump through and relationships people strike up to have that option.
We also learned that this program, which does so much good for people, now actually has a really complicated, gnarly history that's rooted in racism and homophobia and has evolved into something that really does seem to be helping so many people keep hope and really strive to do well and rehabilitate themselves.
I thought it was cool to learn about the ways that marriage unlocks certain rights for certain people. Obviously, we've circled that idea a bunch and we've talked about it through the lens of immigration and some financial rights and protections. But this was a pretty clear, if not for marriage, you are not to have conjugal visits or family visitation in this very specific way. And it is humbling and illuminating to talk to people who are making choices with much less freedom.
Yeah.
We are literally talking to John from inside prison at Sing Sing. So one note on the audio quality, as you can imagine, it is not the best, but we hope you enjoy the conversation as much as we did.
Yeah, it was really great to speak with him. Thank you, John. And thanks, Alex, for putting us together.
And with that, here's our interview with John J. Lennon.
Hey, John, good to meet you, man.
Yeah, likewise.
We're talking to John J. Lennon, and we wanted to speak with him after we read some of his writing, specifically this unbelievable Esquire article where he details marriage in prison, the rights it affords you. So we really wanted to speak with you and ask you questions and get your advice on what we should do.
All right, I love it. Yeah, let's jump in.
Where are you located right now in Sing Sing?
So I'm in my cell and looking at the river view of Sing Sing, which is, the notorious prison up the river in New York City.
Will you tell us a little bit more about your journalism career and what kind of topics you write about?
I would say I'm a personal journalist. I came to prison with a great education, so I wasn't strictly a journalist. Unfortunately, I was a drug dealer. I killed a man, and I got sentenced to 28 years to life. And guilty, I take full responsibility. Along the way, I joined a creative writing workshop in Attica, out west in New York. Mm-hmm. And I was fortunate to sort of learn how to write in a creative writing workshop. I'm kind of an autodidact, kind of taught myself and through, reverse engineering these magazines, I thought I could do it. And, I kind of got lucky. My first piece was published in the Atlantic. And the kind of pieces that I write are just about the world around me. Sometimes I do sort of deep reported pieces and sort of go after the administration, but sometimes it's just cooler to write about cultural lifestyle pieces. And that's what I really started doing for Esquire. I came to write this piece about, sort of like charting my path with relationships and getting married and conjugals.
And how old were you when you got sentenced?
I was 24 when I got locked up, so I was 27 when I finally was found guilty, and then I came up to state prison at 27. So I'm like 48 now. I've been in prison 24 years.
And do you have a release date?
I go see a parole board in 3 years. Yeah, so I have 28 years of life. There's no good time in New York. Like you can win like fucking Pulitzer. Like they won't give you a day off. So like, you gotta like do your time.
All right, let's talk about marriage. John, you've been married twice. Will you tell us about that?
Sure. So I knew about conjugals when I was sort of, heading upstate. I was living the fast life. I was a young guy when I came in, and I wasn't married, and I didn't have any kids. But I kind of like envied the guys that were going out like on these trailers every couple of years. And when I say trailers, like these modular homes that are sort of like on the compound. But I wanted to find somebody to build a relationship with, and my mom eventually she put an ad online for me. They have these like ads like writeaprisoner.com. It was kind of like humbling and lame at the time to do that, but I was like, well, shit, like maybe
well,
maybe
dude,
maybe somebody will write me, and they did it.
I mean, online dating has completely exploded in the last 10 years. And like, that's how Emily and I met, basically. Everyone's meeting everyone online. It's not necessarily a website. It's like an app, but it's all the same thing. It's just, meeting people on the internet.
Yeah. And I will say, like, that was kind of like always on my mind, like, which is kind of different from you and Emily's sort of like situation, right? You don't need that contract to be intimate with your partner. It's just, it was a different sort of dilemma for me when I looked at marriage differently.
I want to go back a little bit just so we can like double click on what this is exactly. Can you tell us about the experience of family visitation? Like, what does the space look like? How long do you have? What happens?
Yeah. A huge part of why we're talking today is because you cannot visit with someone. You cannot have a family visitation experience. You can't have your partner come to the prison, and you can't like spend the night with them or have like a meal with them in your own little area. You can't have that unless you are legally married. And that's a huge driver for you getting married, both of the times you've been married.
So the compound is like these modular homes that are within the walls of the prison. There's like 4 of them, and then, kind of like a 2-bedroom apartment. There's a kitchen, there's a bathroom, bedrooms, the couch, the TV. Sometimes they give you a PlayStation for the kids. I mean, it's a cool vibe. Your visitor on the outside, they're getting processed on the outside, coming into the facility, and they leave you on the compound for 40 hours with your wife. And there's other people. There's like barbecue pits, and you come out and you mingle with the others, and it's really, it's a taste of freedom. It's something that I was like incredibly grateful for to have,
The people that are allowed to spend these 40 hours with you are your spouse, so either your husband or your wife, and your parents and kids. Like, is it just core family, or?
So you could go with like your direct family, and like your mother could bring your kids if you had kids or whatever, but you have to be married to your partner, and you are allowed to get married while you're in prison, or if you're married from before, then you don't have to go through the process. It's interesting, there's a history to this. Like, they didn't have to be married back then, but they gave it to like the prisoners, the black prisoners who picked out in the fields, and they would allow them to have sex with like prostitutes so they could work there. It was just a total racist sort of like historical history to conjugals. And fast forward to like the 60s, they started like sort of like states started adopting this to deter homosexuality, which is another sort of debunked sort of thing. Like, if you give them conjugals and let them marry and all that, like, we won't be like fucking each other. Now, look, you know what I mean? Like, that in itself is offensive, but I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I would say it's less of a culture in New York than it is in other prisons. Like, that's never happened to me, thankfully. So,
I want to take a second on the topic of like, this started as a program to deter homosexuality in prison. Like, similar to marriage, like if we trace these things back, it's like completely crazy. Like, the history of marriage is trading women as property, creating family ties between like landowners, sharing livestock. Like we live in this modern world and we like look at the programs and things around us and we often don't consider like where they come from, and they do still. I don't know, it matters to think about and remember.
Yeah, it does. What it does in New York is it's an incentive for us to sort of like behave well. And we need privileges.
So then you were like, okay, I've got to get, in order for me to have a physical relationship with someone, I need to get married. That was the thought process.
I think I needed to find somebody that I could fall in love with. And I think that was important too. It wasn't just like, it wasn't mean to it is.
I'm curious. So it's Raina and Daniele, right?
Yes.
What do you think drew them to you?
Like I'm writing love letters with Rainer. I'm writing love letters with Daniele, like expressive, and I think they desired that or they appreciated that.
Yeah, you're like a captive audience. And I feel like so many people, they're like heartbroken that they're not getting someone's full attention, in a relationship, whether, they're worried that someone's going to cheat, or you're worried that someone's not going to write you back or like text back promptly, or, write you a letter back. And it's like kind of like crazy romantic where you're like, you guys are writing at times handwritten letters to each other in addition to email and, other communication. Like, have you written some letters physically?
Well, yeah, in terms of letters, it was handwritten letters, and there's a cool kind of vibe to that. There's an intimate, nostalgic kind of vibe to that. Just to sort of put a timeline on this and the chronology of my relationships. Yeah, I married Raina in 2013. Didn't last long. We were divorced by 2015. I was sort of remarried Daniele in 2016, and then we stayed together until I think 2021. Like life takes its course, and you change.
I'm curious, are you single right now?
I am. Yeah, I got divorced from Daniele a few years ago. I started having like these weird anxiety attacks when she would come up, like, because you have to go through this protocol of like pissing in a cup while the guard watches. And then like 2 days before, and then the day of, you got to piss in the cup again. And it was just like, all of a sudden I just couldn't piss in the cup. Like I started having this wild anxiety. Like if you can't do it, like they'll just cancel your visit. And it happened twice. So that wasn't fun for her. She all geared up to go hang out with me, and then like I can't piss in the cup, And
wow. Yeah, it's like a totally other kind of performance
I,
anxiety. I've never even thought of that kind of performance anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, thank God I didn't have the other issue with the performance, which is, look, that's a legitimate problem too, and that's super humbling. I didn't even make it to the date because I had the anxiety of not being able to piss in a cup. So that sucked. I mean, I think it was just the relationship itself. I had to cut it off. I'm sure I could have done a lot of things differently. And I'm sort of like super grateful for like all the sacrifices Brenda and Danielle made.
Are you like interested and open to dating between now and your parole hearing?
Not really. You can never sort of like, kind of like just shut down any possibilities of love or whatever. But I just like, I want to get out and like try to like ski with that life and society. And
how do you feel about the visitation being limited to someone you're married to? Like, do you think that should be offered to a girlfriend or boyfriend?
I mean, I do think, in the culture right now, like I don't know how like chic it is to sort of be married. Like, and I think that's what you guys are sort of like going through too, right? Like, I don't know. It's hitting me too because I'm going out into your world soon, and like how do you guys feel about it? I don't know. Do you romanticize marriage, Emily, or like how do you feel about it, Max?
I feel mixed. I feel it is traditional in some ways that I really like. It's nice to know that this is something that my great-grandparents did, my great-great-grandparents, like almost everyone in my family history has been married. So I think it's a nice way to honor my love for Maxson. In other ways, it just feels kind of outdated and unnecessary. I love Maxson. I don't need people to know that he's my husband. I don't need to wear a ring to prove that to the world. But I think the more we learn, there are just some like very real rights and opportunities that it allows us and some freedoms in our life. Like, this, it offered you intimacy and love and care that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And there's some just like financial, practical, logistical, political things that it offers people that are really hard to mimic without it.
One benefit, if Max ever gets jammed up with the law, if you guys have that contract beforehand, you could come see him in the slammer.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a real testament to your commitment, I suppose.
Would you do
I don't
that,
think you guys are serious.
Emily?
Yeah.
If I went to jail, and how would you think about that? And would being married to me influence you to stick it out or stick it out longer?
I mean, it's definitely compelling to know that I could come see you and we could talk more. And I guess I would want to know how those visits go and how we're able to figure out our relationship long distance, if you will.
If I killed someone, would you still want to be married to me or be with me?
I think I would not want to be with you.
Will you
But that's
elaborate?
sad.
What if he was at a bar one night and it got a little crazy, but it was a fight and it wasn't intentional, but now he killed somebody and he's devastated about what he did, and
Mm-hmm.
he misses you, he loves you, and you guys had something. So how would you think about that?
I would want to be with him through the experience of processing that and figuring out how I'm sure there would be a lot of guilt and shame and confusion and trying to understand himself and what happened and a lot of feelings. And I would want to support him through that. I would find it very painful. And I think I would have to just make some hard decisions about my life and how I want it to look and what the cost of this would be to our shared life and my individual life. But I don't think I would abandon you in this moment emotionally.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to talk about, but I feel like you would be with me for 2 years and then you would leave. You'd be with me through helping me understand it and helping and supporting me as I went through this change. But then once things were stabilized, I honestly kind of feel like you would move on with your life and not invest time into being with me and stuff, which I don't know if that's bad that you would do that. I don't know if it's good that you would do that. I don't have judgment about that. I think my preference would be that we stay together because I love you so much. And I would obviously want to have more contact with you, but I don't know if I would blame you because it's just so logistically tough and it's not really what you signed up for. You signed up to be with me on the outside, not me on the inside.
Isn't that the marriage thing though? Isn't that one of the lines? Through
Sickness and health,
through love and health,
including
right.
Incarceration. Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I'm not sure if that's what you want to sign up for, Emily. Maybe that's part of the reasons why this marriage thing is a question mark for you or for us, and why we're doing this project is, love is unconditional, and I'm not sure that that's true for us.
Mm-hmm.
But that would fucking suck for me if you left.
Yeah.
But
What about you in the
I
reverse?
I'm not sure. I want to give the opposite answer because I think it would be very interesting to be with you. I would still really want to be with you. And I don't think it would be that, it would obviously be so hard, but especially if we had visitation, that'd be amazing. I'm curious if you would be heartbroken if I had a girlfriend and also continued to be with you. You're incarcerated and now we're sort of polyamorous.
I think I would love that for you.
John, would that make you go crazy if you were on the inside?
Look, I understand what's going on out there now, and I do find it to be a little bit of a turn on. But then, shit, I don't know what the hell I like. I've been here so long, and I guess I got to figure it out. I mean, I got to figure it out. I do get turned on with these these ideas of open relationships, but I haven't really experienced that.
Mm-hmm. I just think there are a lot of people in Maxson's life that can give him things that I can't. There are friends that go surfing with him. I don't like going surfing. There are friends that like to have spirited, intense discussions about topics. I like having calm, gentle conversations about topics. And if I'm not around to give him love and attention and care, I hope that someone can give that to him because I want him to have everything that he wants.
Max, what if Emily was in the bar fight? Are you going to come check her on visits? Because, to be fair,
I would. I for sure would. I don't think it would rock me to my core the way that it would. I'm like, what? I think Emily has a unbelievably strong aversion to violence and brutality. And if I did that, I think she'd be really moved by that. Whereas I think if Emily did that, I just don't think it would be as emotionally intense for me. Whereas for her, I think if I were to do that, it would be really, really frightening to her and would make her distrust me. So yeah.
I think we can go to our final question. Knowing what you know about me and Maxson over the course of this conversation, do you think we should get married?
I would say, sure.
A resounding sure.
Yeah. The intriguing part for me was like hearing the part about like poly stuff and like, you know what I mean? That seems like a pretty good deal, you know, right? Like that, like I never had that deal before. What can it hurt? I do think the marriage is like, in my mind, maybe like, you're the one though, girl. Like, you know, aside from everything else, like you're my person.
No, totally. I bet Emily wants me to say on the interview that she only really wants to be poly if she's in prison. I think that's part of the deal. Is she's not really suggesting it for like right now. Okay, you want to talk about your book for a second? You want to let the world know anything? We want to give you a platform.
Recently came out with a book, The Tragedy of True Crime, 4 Guilty Men, and the stories that define us. And I think it's a pretty intense read, and people want to hear me go long, go pick it up. And, you know, I just appreciate the time. I love this conversation. You know, you guys are a cute couple. I wish you guys the best. You guys would be all right.
Thanks.
Okay.
Really fun to talk to you.
Yeah. Really loved meeting you, John.
Yeah.
Thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah, this was fun.
Take care, buddy. Bye. So we just finished our interview with John J. Lennon. What was that like for you?
Found him very interesting, very curious about us, which I loved. I thought getting into what you and I would do in a situation where one of us was in prison was a good thought exercise. I've never gone down that path, and to do it with him felt, I don't want to hurt his feelings or say that I would leave you in front of him. That felt kind of complicated.
Yeah, totally. But like you probably would.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an interesting thing that like ties this back to the project, where a lot of people's definition of marriage is through sickness and in health, freedom and incarceration, etc. I don't know if you're down for all of that. I don't know if I'm down for all that.
Mm-hmm. I feel we live in this era where it's like marriage should make your life better. And like, yes, there'll be rocky times, but ultimately like this person should be amplifying and elevating and improving your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Is marriage supposed to open your life and free you, or is it supposed to close your life and like commit you? And maybe in the commitment, there is freedom and expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2 other things I found really interesting. One was hearing about the history of these family visitation programs or conjugal visits and how much we can disagree with the history of something, but like benefit from it in this moment.
Yeah. So he talked about how this visitation program started to quote unquote, like prevent homosexuality or the problem of homosexuality in prisons. And then, you know, it's led to what he describes as a really productive program. And similarly, marriage started out in some people's description as a quite misogynistic property transfer of people, passing the woman along from like ownership from the father to ownership to the husband. But it's like marriage has so many positive things to it as well. But these things that have like a dark history that end up because we're humans and we adopt ourselves. And there are nice things about commitment.
Yeah. Did this conversation with John give you a pebble in the marriage bucket or the non-marriage bucket? Shout out Pebbles.
Yeah. Hashtag Pebble Talk. This gave me a pebble in get married. Is it really worth it to like avoid this institution that unlocks some such serious rights. Not that I want to ever use these rights, but I don't know. There's something weird to me about, him having worked so hard to achieve this milestone with someone and me being like, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. It makes me feel ungrateful.
I think I feel the same. At the end of the day, there are just some really meaningful benefits. Yeah, I would say. Bucket of marriage for this one for me too,
Yeah.
If John compels you and you're excited to read more of his work, he has a new book coming out called The Tragedy of True Crime. We will definitely be reading that, and you can read along with us.
And in our next episode, you'll listen to some of this. Bloop.
I lost my income, experienced a major illness, and we were forced to relocate all within the first year of marriage. I wish we'd had the conversations before to truly understand what it means to be in a partnership when things are going wrong.
Should We Get Married is an original series by Easily Wowed and Bad Cooley Productions. This episode was created by me, Maxson Jarecki,
And me, Emily Carter.
and our producer, Ramoy Phillip.
Theme music is the song Fake Romantic by the band Melt. Logo and brand design by Madeline Vogue.
Sound design and mixing by Ramoy Phillip.
There are so many of you out there who are asking these exact same questions, and we don't all have to investigate marriage on our own. Subscribe to Should We Get Married and learn with us as we make our decision.